Well, we recognise that the use of cash has been diminishing, and there's been a real move towards digital payments. But it's really important that we want to make sure that older people and others aren't left behind.
In recent weeks, there's been a lot of discussion about the GAA's digital cashless ticketing policy, whereby fans have to pre-buy a ticket for a game and they then get entrance to the game through a QR code. And there's been worries that this may negatively impact older people. What is EHNI's stance or view on this sort of system?
EHNI is concerned about the fact that people will not be able to go to the match and pay by cash if that's their choice. Older people, particularly those who are over 75, can prefer sometimes to use cash in their everyday transactions. So we would like the GAA to consider their decision and actually offer that as an opportunity for older people to pay as they want to pay. A lot of older people live with families, and with families they do things together, share things, and that may include going out and buying tickets, for family members. But there's a lot of older people who are on their own, who don't have those connections, and we're concerned that older people may actually not have the same opportunities to go along to matches, take part in local activities and have a bit of fun and enjoy their life. Well, certainly through COVID, older people experienced a lot of isolation and loneliness, and we know that for many it's really difficult for them to have the confidence to really move out and join in local activities. So it's really important that we don't put anything in the way of that happening. So we want to do much more encouragement and to give older people every opportunity they can to come out and enjoy the things that they enjoy.
So this petition campaign has gained a lot of traction in recent weeks. As recently as last week, we heard an Aontu politician, a TD, Peadar Tóibín, bring this issue up in the Dáil. And those who have organised this campaign have argued that this goes as far as being discriminatory towards older people. Would EHNI agree with that as a word to describe this?
Well, in Northern Ireland there is no law to protect older people being discriminated against when accessing goods, facilities and services, and that's something that EHNI is campaigning for, to make sure that the protections are in place. What is important, I think, that older people aren't left behind, that older people aren't excluded, but included in terms of equality of opportunity. So we would like that the GAA actually changes the decision and allows older people to be included on the same basis as everybody else.
As you mentioned briefly before, we did learn during the COVID pandemic that many older people suffered from feelings of loneliness, with having social activities restricted, not being able to see family or friends during COVID. Do you think the GAA, in enacting such a policy, has actually learned lessons from this, or are we actually as a society going another step backwards now?
I think what's important is that older people feel part of their community, and everything is done to encourage them so that they feel welcomed, they feel valued, and in fact they have a contribution to make. So I think that's what we would like the GAA to take account of when looking at this decision.
Could you speak to us briefly about EHNI's research, which was recently conducted on older people and their relationship with cash?
Yes, this was research that EHNI carried out in 2021, and it was about the lived experience of older people. So we asked older people, what matters most to you, just coming out of COVID, what really matters? And having access to cash and being able to use cash, and also having access to the banking system, was one of the areas that older people said really mattered to them.
If there isn't opposition shown to this policy when we see that it is causing problems for older people, do you believe that we could see this spreading into other areas of life, negatively affecting older people and making life harder, maybe in different sports and different things? Would that concern EHNI?
Well, we recognise that the use of cash has been diminishing, and there's been a real move towards digital payments. But it's really important that we want to make sure that older people and others aren't left behind, and we want to make sure that everything is done that's possible to be done to make sure people are included and have choice in terms of how they want to engage and take part, and some of that is continuing to be able to use cash.
And finally, Paschal, would you as an organisation have a message to the GAA as a community organisation at a time when this is sort of starting to be enforced at both club and county level?
I think the message is that The GAA and other sporting organisations play such an important part in community life across Northern Ireland and Ireland, in fact. And they have such a really important role to play in including older people and others in the life of that community. So my ask of the GAA would be to reconsider the decision that they've made and to make it possible for people to pay by cash as well as an online payment.